The prize pools for every season of RLCS. If that means that for the first time the prize pool is decreased from 6 million, I think that's not so good for the future of the esport. For RLCS, let's just land on a format, perfect one, and move on. Personally, I'd like group, but I think having all these different formats for all these different splits complicates things a little too much. Discussing majors, I think we need more spots. Regions like MENA and SAM have proved their worth, that more spots may be needed from them, and SSA in particular needs to have that representation. RLCS 2024 is here, and welcome everybody. We are here to discuss it. As you saw, I may have predicted a couple things that came in this new season. There's a lot that we know now and still a lot of unknowns, but what we know is that in just 2 weeks, the new season begins. Literally 16 days, January 26th, the first qualifier begins. So, while there are many negative opinions and comments towards this new season between pros and analysts alike, let's begin with the basic facts and why maybe some of this pre-jumped hate is valid or maybe not so valid. You all saw the headlines. The prize pool has been reduced officially from 6 million each in the last 2 seasons down to 4.3 million. That is about a 70% total of what this new season will be compared to what the old seasons have been. But get this, there's actually 70% of events remaining as well. It is now shifted. It is now 2 majors accompanied with 3 regionals that they're now calling qualifiers and 1 world championship. It has dropped from 13 events to 9 events, 4 international lands to just 3. So what's important to keep in mind here is that although we've seen now 70% of the recent prize pool, there's also 70% of events. So you would think payments are still the same. You know, pros are still getting paid the same, just for less events now. That's not quite the case either. That insinuation is not true. RLCS, as you saw in the announcement, is embracing a widened prize pool. So now, instead of the top 16 getting prize pool portions, it is now the top 128. Yes, from the top 16 to the top 128. Everybody's getting paid. That means 13-year-old cracked Sammy, who gets swept by G2 in the round of 128. They're getting paid, baby. Let's go. Couldn't be more happy about this. To add to all of this, the NA and EU regions have also been decreased in the amount of major spots that they get. So this major spot has dropped from 5 to just 4 teams. That includes NA and EU. So it's not only a reduction in what the top teams are being paid, it's also a reduction in the amount of opportunity at international lands that the top players are getting. A bit dismal if you're a very talented pro in North America and Europe. And I know this is surprising, right? A $1.7 million reduction in the prize pool. What is good about that? Name one good thing about that. Well, I'll accept your challenge. I will. And that is long-term sustainability. That's right, folks. Listen, let's be honest about one thing. Why did the prize pool increase all the way to 6 million in the first place? The COVID boom. It was at least part of it, let's be honest, okay? The fact that everyone was cooped up inside, actually watching esports, means that there's a big boom in viewership. We are long past that. People are touching grass now. People are actually going outside. I know you gamers will not believe this, but it is true. The boom has busted. We are in esports winter, and these changes reflect a cold reality of what is needed in esports. Don't believe me? What happened with Twitch? What just happened with Twitch? 500 employees were laid off at Twitch. And what was the one word that the Twitch CEO mentioned when this happened? Well, it was sustainability. It was Twitch being there in the long run. This is what these shifts are all about in the gaming industry right now, guys. It is downsizing so that the product remains. At the end of the day, it is a business decision. And I know that all sounds bad, but at the end of the day, it will keep RLCS alive. Otherwise, the product crashes and burns. Guys, we talked a little bit about the good that comes with this prize pool change, but if you'll remember in my last video, orgs such as Team Liquid leaving the scene because there's not the best monetization path in the esport. Really, the only monetization path is if you win the league or come top 3, top 4 and get a big chunk of the change. So if winning the tournaments is a majority of how to become profitable and get revenue in RLCS, and that's the prize pool that's decreasing, it is going to weaken the argument for new esports organizations to join the esport and thus diminish the overall brand of RLCS. It would have ramifications on the overall outlook of the esport. And guess what? The results were immediate. Let's start with organizations. The CEO of SSG has already chimed in. Let's take a look. Unit says, we love Rocket League at SSG and have been involved in RLCS for the last 6 years, but this really feels like a punch to the guts. We will continue to invest in Rocket League esports because we know how special it is, but I think this will have a negative impact on the long-term scene. Let's dial into one particular aspect of this comment. They're investing in it because we know how special it is. How many orgs are going to stay in the esport because they just think Rocket League is special? I'm sorry, but if I'm a prospective org and I see long-term orgs only staying in because, well, we really like Rocket League, I'm not joining. So the optics in the esports scene from an organization perspective is not good, and it's no better from the player perspective as well. A retirement announcement came within the first hour of the new RLCS announcement as Drees, days after the disbanding of the boys, their recent RLCS team with Gyro, and an hour after the RLCS announcement, Drees announces his retirement from competitive Rocket League, goes on in his tweet to say retiring, don't have the passion to continue playing, thanks for all the memories. And Jake has a point. Drees retiring has nothing to do with this. I'll take that with a grain of salt. I think the fact that Gyro got pulled onto the Dignitas roster and the fact that the boys disbanded from that had way more of an impact from this announcement. But to say that this new RLCS announcement had nothing to do with that statement from Drees and many other comments from pros saying that this esport is dying, quote, Joyo, quote, Rise, quote, Chicago, I think needs to be re-examined. I think that this only reinforced players' decisions to take a step away from the esport or at least have a backup plan. Because with less prize pool, with less events, and with worsened optics from an organization perspective, things don't look as great as they were for the esport. We have not talked about quite everything yet. There's more basic updates we need to discuss, and some of them are actually good. Let's start with the format. I spent about 10 minutes in my expectations video discussing format and the need for a standardized approach to each tournament, because going from Swiss to group to double elim, every split is too confusing, especially when everyone's going on to liquipedia.com instead of like a centralized standard website from RLCS to cover and follow the action. Well, the good news is that we do officially have a simplified format from RLCS. Here it is. There will be a double elimination open qualifier between everybody to decide the top 16. The top 16 will then be boiled down to the top 8 via the Swiss format. And then the 8-team single elimination bracket, which we all know and love, will stay the same. I did mention that I wanted group. Okay, I wanted group format. I thought that was best. But ultimately, and above all, I asked for a standard approach to all regionals that are now called qualifiers. I actually enjoy seeing this. The one concern of this format, which you'll probably hear from pros, is that there's no guarantee for the best teams to just be locked in the top 16 or even locked in other stages of this qualifier format. Nope, we get the best versus the worst in the open qualifier system pretty much every time. From a viewer's perspective, though, it's pretty cool. There's definitely going to be some dark horse runs in every single open qualifier, and I'm ready to watch those. The only sad thing is, from an organization perspective, once you perform well, you're not guaranteed to make every regional. And these lack of guarantees for proper return on investment for these organizations is going to continue to cut into the overall outlook on this esport from an organization perspective. Now that we touch on major spots, and while NAEU are going to be seeing cuts, everybody, as well as less world spot for APAC, as they're down from 2 to 1, I believe, MENA and SSA can rejoice. That's right, especially for SSA. I was predicting a major spot, and finally it is here. MENA will see an extra major spot as well in the listing that you can see here. MENA has expanded from 1 to 2. SSA has expanded from 0 to 1. And listen, I've been covering the SSA scene on their mainstream for the last 2 seasons. Whether I cover it in the next season or not, it doesn't matter. I'm a diehard fan. I've seen the investment that this team has put between the unique challenges they face to present a proper broadcast and production and competition, from pros to admins to everybody involved. The investment was there. They earned this international representation, and finally we have seen it. Finally, SSA is here. And we want to talk a little bit about MENA. They needed the expansion as well. Okay, forget MENA rivaling SAM. Bro, NA and EU, fear is striked in their eyes anytime they're up against one of the top MENA teams. 2 teams is at the very least suitable for what this team and this region needed. I will also add that with more major representation, we'll also see more Esports Decal representation. As you can see, 30 plus teams debuting new custom decals and player banners. To me, just thinking about looking at these new esports decals and player banners does get me very, very excited. I cannot wait for those to drop. We'll definitely be tier listing esports decals and player banners once released. So guys, in general, with this new RLCS, we have basically just less RLCS. There is a 6-month off season if you don't make Worlds, 7 months for those that don't make the second major. There's less prizing. There's less overall Worlds or major representation overall from NAEU, etc. Less lands. There's less event days as they're squishing every region's broadcast into the same weekend. Overall, it's an unwelcome shift. But honestly, as well, the off season in particular is way too long. I really, really, really hope it's not up to the community to fill in events during that time. I'm not sure I'm optimistic that that's going to be addressed, but we will see. But at the end of the day, we still have RLCS. And there's even way more information yet to come, and there better be, because I have 3 major categories of discussion that I talked about in my expectations video that were not addressed. Bubble support, and no, the widened prize pool does not address that at all. Maybe like a tiny little smidgen. The Women's League and cross-region restrictions. I need news. I need news on all of those three, and if none of them are addressed in any way, we're gonna have problems. But that's it. Is this new season? Does it have enough W's to at least be excited about RLCS? Or is it an absolute crash and burn and only shows the end of Rocket League as we know it? I don't know, but I need to hear from you. Let me know in the comments what you think, and keep up to date with the more news coming for this new season of RLCS.